Thank you for tuning into the channel. I'm Mark G. This is the 203 Fight Network. And tonight is your Tough 25 Redemption episode 4 review for Wednesday, May 10th, 2017. And it seems that episode 4 went pretty well. And it seems as TJ Dillashaw's team's doing pretty well, and he's doing pretty awesome as a coach, being 4-0. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But first, I just wanted to give an apology. I didn't get really a preview out. I haven't been doing too many videos, just getting these reviews in. I've been having a lot going on, and some dental issues, so I couldn't really record. But even though I'm in a lot of pain from some minor dental issues, I'm here tonight to give you the review. But it's been kind of a rough day, and I get back to work, back to the shop, and we have a building, and then a little bit across the way, kind of in our area is another company, and they own actually most of the area and whatnot. But I wasn't my car wasn't in my normal space, as my boss told me I had to move it because there's going to be a lot of trucks coming in, and they needed to move around or whatever. It's kind of some tight space and whatnot. So we get back from the job, and we're already 2 hours, normal than what I would normally work to, and so the 8.5 hour day turns now into a 10.5, 11-hour day, and you're not sitting on I'm not sitting on my ass, so we pull in the lot, and I'm actually in the boss's car because the van was basically full with equipment and everything and tools and whatnot, so. We're me and another guy, we're in the car, and then we pull in, and I'm looking, and I'm like, damn, something doesn't look right on my car. Now I did have a little dent, but it was barely noticeable. But I noticed this from like a few hundred feet away. I was like, what? So some asshole, excuse me, this is the only time you'll probably ever hear me curse. Somebody hit my car, and nothing. Didn't hear anything, but we'll see tomorrow. When I go in, and we'll see if anybody, across the way might say something or fess up or whatnot. I know there's a lot of, trucks going through, but I can't imagine nobody didn't hear nothing, man, because it's pretty bad. I'm still drivable, and to be honest, the car, it's an older car. I've had it a long time. I'm probably looking to get out of it soon, but. And if I was there, or, if they called me up and said, hey, man, somebody hit your car, I would have said, hey, hey, Rock, just go in there, check it out, take it for a ride, tell me if everything's cool with it, take a picture, send it to me. If I was there and it happened, and the guy came in and somebody said, hey, I hit this car, and I'm like, as long as it was still drivable and whatnot, I wouldn't have been mad. I wouldn't have been. I wouldn't have tried to milk the guy for money. I would have been like, all right, whatever. Doesn't look good, but, what do you want me to do? I've been driving a very long time, and close to 30 years, and that's been done to me so many times. It's very frustrating. Somebody hits you, and, you come out, and there's some freaking damage on your car. And you're like, why would somebody just be a scumbag and do this, and just be a scumbag? There's just it's very irritating. And I've never done that. I'm not a scumbag. I would never hit somebody's car. I've never backed into anything, because I'm not a moron. I know how to drive. In the car business, I used to sell cars for a while. And going around the lot, I actually did, moving cars when you got to get them super, super tight, and you got somebody going, oh yeah, come over, and then you end up hitting something because the freaking moron is telling you to keep going when there's no more room. But that's a whole other story. We obviously, I've never hit somebody in a parking lot or even freaking left a note because I never had to. But if I did hit someone, I would definitely fess up to it. I wouldn't be a coward, a scumbag, a POS, all right? And, hit somebody's car, you know, and just take off. But like I said, that's happened to me way too many times. Me or and my family, I've seen it. It kind of happen to, and it freaking blows my mind. Okay, I got that off my chest. Thank you. Now, let's get to the tough review. I'm not going to try and make this too crazy, but do want to thank you all for, like I said, once again, coming here and joining me, Mark G, on the 203 Fight Network. Please stay tuned this week. It's UFC 211. Oh my God, we've been waiting for it. We've been waiting for it for weeks. Now we finally, it's coming up this week. I'm gonna definitely do a preview, full card preview show. It's gonna be a stand on its own preview show. I'm trying to get episode 6 of the Objective Perspective, my 203 Networks here exclusive podcast, and I'm trying to get that out there and get that on iTunes and whatnot. And we're gonna be having some new changes coming in here to the channel very soon, so please stay tuned. And everyone who's been watching and tuning in, I do appreciate it, and do appreciate it a lot. I appreciate the likes and the dislikes. So thank you for listening, and we're gonna let's just keep it going, man. Keep it real. Now, get to my handy little notepad here because it has been such a trying day. It's so hard to remember everything that I kind of wrote down during this fight, but yeah. So this is a show. Episode 4. James Krause. He's actually gonna be fighting Johnny Nunez. Nunez is a replacement for a fighter that shall not be named on here because he basically quit and missed weight, and that's just tough. I mean, I would at least want to see him try and hit the scale, but he didn't even do that. But anyhow, Nunez is a 2-time tough. He was on the McGregor-Uriah Faber tough 22, and he was brought back. He had lost to Ryan Hall, and then he was submitted by Ryan Hall, and then was brought back later, I think by actually one of the opposing coaches. But then he had lost a pretty close fight. He had given some, he had put up some pretty good fights in both his fights so far that he competed on tough, tough 22. So it's I was kind of I was a little I thought Krause was my pick really to win this whole show. So going into this fight, you're kind of like wondering what's you're always a little apprehensive. You never know what's going to happen, but Krause, you have to figure should win this. He's a current fighter. We're going to get into his whole redemption story that they got into too in a second. But Nunez is a wrestler, and they're saying Krause is a matchup good with the wrestlers. I do wonder, when you get to a certain point, when you're talking about someone who's only has 6, 7, 8 fights, whatever Nunez has, I'm not too sure off the top of my head, but I couldn't see him really dominate in any really aspect. I could see him maybe tagging Krause or landing some type of right hand or left some type of overhand or something that would surprise him. But we'll get into the fight because it was actually a really good fight. And that's one thing that the Ultimate Fighter used to be great for, man. That was like you would get at least that one fight a week, and those, especially those ones, in the beginning. I mean, after the first one, because the first one was a rarity. You didn't even know what you were watching. But as seasons went on, and you had season 3 with Shamrock and Tito Ortiz as coaches, and Bisbing and the next guy that comes to mind is on that cast right off what I was just saying was Ross Point, and I don't know why. I think I just heard something about Ross Point recently. Anyway, you had Matt Hamill. Season 3 had a bunch of guys, and Obviously, it was a while ago, and Bisping is still going. Season 4 was the comeback match. Sarah 1 ended up beating GSP in one of the biggest, shocking, upsets there, in UFC history. And so, but every week you had a fight, man, and yeah, season 5, Nate Diaz, BJ Penn, and Jens Pulver, and Jens Pulver has a you know seventh degree separation connection to James Krause, being that James Krause had his UFC debut was versus Sam Stout. Sam Stout is basically known for fighting Spencer Fisher, who was a teammate of Jens Pulver, and they're two old school guys. If you don't know who Spencer the King Fisher is, him and Sam Stout had fights of the year, and that's why if you watch this episode and when they were going and talking about James Krause, and Dana White was talking about James Krause, one of the first things he brought up was the fact that he beat Sam Stout in his first fight. And even though that was an older, Sam Stout, that I don't even know, Sam might even have retired after that fight. I know he did retire soon after that. And he was great, man. Hands of Stone Stout, and him and Spencer the King Fisher just had some great battles, man. And when you look back at some of those fights, some of those older, not even older. I mean, because I go back total ways with the UFC. I mean, when they were just inducting, talking about inducting Maurice Smith into the Hall of Fame now, that was, I was just like, that's awesome that they're recognizing, and he was one of my favorites, man. He used to, even though he didn't really have much with the grappling, man, he was almost a striker. He can hurt you, but back then, Oleg Taktarov. I mean, you're talking like you're after your Hoist Gracie and Dan Severn type of debuts in those first couple, but it's come so far. So to get back to it, yeah, they're talking about, this episode opens talking about James Krause, a lot of his accomplishments, like I said, beating Sam Stout in his debut, this it also opened with he's basically telling his whole story about what happened in his debut when he got basically knocked out in his elimination fight, and I think it was TUF 18. So they clipped to that footage, and then they kind of cut back to Krause talking, and it was pretty great, because he's basically saying how he's just, I don't really care about the money at this point. I just felt like kind of embarrassed by what happened on there, and he's got a couple schools out there in Kansas City. I think it was Kansas City, Missouri, or I think it's Missouri, but he's got a lot of UFC fighters and former Ultimate, fighters, and I think Tim Elliott, one of the guys he mentioned, is one of his training partners. So Krause, they really kind of building him up to make him look good. They also were talking about how Krause, he's had some really rough, tribulations and family things, and he's taken his sister and him and his wife just had a little baby girl, and now he's got his sister, and a daughter. And I guess his parents right now aren't doing too well, but like, our thoughts and prayers go out to them, and hope everything is works out. We're all going through something, so so they move on to the next segment, and we're getting Nunez, and so they're showing Nunez with some of his clips when he lost to Ryan Hall, and they were brought in. They were having a little party for some viewing, the viewing pleasure of the fighters to watch some fights, and Cody Garbrandt showed up with his girlfriend and Miesha Tate, and Miesha Tate, I don't know if she was trying to, interview him for Fox, but she was doing a lot of talking to Johnny Nunez. Maybe it was because he was fighting. I mean, who knows? it was, and we'll get into more because, Misha had kind of a big part in the show, which is great because we always love seeing Misha. Don't, I mean, come on. Misha Tate, if you don't know who Misha Tate is, season 18 of The Ultimate Fighter, coach against former bantamweight champion Ronda Rousey. Misha Tate, in her own right, is also a former bantamweight champion of the UFC and Strikeforce. Misha actually was around even longer than Ronda, and we can get into the history of that, but that's for another day and maybe another show. But it was definitely great seeing Misha. A couple other of little cutout segments there that they had on the show. TJ's team is really close, and TJ's doing a phenomenal job, as a coach. And the team, I guess it was his birthday, and Tom decided, since they really don't have money right now to buy anything, and they're kind of stuck in the house, that they had to, come up with some artistic way to, get him some type of gift. So they made him a card, and they drew a bear on the card, and the card said, if being on the other team would be unbearable. And they all shaved some hair off of their body, either their arms or their chest, or I don't know, maybe their head. I don't know. I know that there was no pubic hair on this, but then they made this card, and I'm gonna try to actually put that up in the. I'm gonna try to put that up and see if that card is on there. Maybe get a snapshot. I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out, but yeah, they all got together. The only one that didn't put any hair on there because he has like a hair thing was Krause. And to be quite honest, I thought it was pretty disgusting. I mean, I'm pretty much pretty hairy guy. I'm of that descent. But anyway, that yeah, the whole loose hair thing, and I believe that's what James Krause said. I got to agree. I mean, you start taking it off, and it's just. Okay, it's like I just, haircut the other day, and, you're stepping out, and my hair is, if you saw from, last week's podcast, it was even longer, obviously, after I got it cut, so there was a lot of hair. I mean, I always have to tip extra to the, stylist, the hairdresser, whatnot, whatever, you want to call the, the lovely ladies that would cut my hair. I generally don't. It's been a long time since the guys cut my hair. It's just, I don't know. Sometimes you just rather have a girl cut your hair because then they can give you a certain perspective. I guess I don't know. Anyway, Misha Tate seemed really, she was really interested in Johnny Nunez. To get back to that, but also moving on, they did cut out, and they gave a little bit of a lead on what the next episode and what the next fight was going to be. They had Lima and Hassan, Diego Lima and Hideo Hassan talking, and they're both ATT, American Top Team teammates, and friends and whatnot. And Diego's brother Douglas Lima, I think it's Douglas. Sometimes names slip me. Names are hard. Bellator champ fighting Bellator NYC. That fight should definitely happen. I'm not worried about that fight falling out. The only fight I'm worried about falling out on Bellator would be the Chael Sonnen Vanderlei Silva, because Vanderlei Silva is not going to make it. He's going to find a way out, whether he doesn't find a way out or the New York Commission finds a way out for him. He's not going to fight Chael, but Chael will fight, make the walk. Hopefully, I don't want to see that happen. I'd love to see Chael, kind of beat him, but we move on. So Hassan and Lima will be fighting next week, because Hassan, basically, they were saying in the cameras they don't want to fight. They're brothers, they love each other. That's great. But Hassan also, when he was telling Cody, no, I don't want to fight him, he also just happened to tell him that I can beat him, but I'll fight him in round 2, maybe round 3, but not the first round, because it's too easy. So, you got this team, because Buchholz was like, no, who does he think he's choosing the fights? He's not choosing the fights. That's a good matchup. That's what we're going to go with. So that's what you're going to have next week. I just spoiled the end of the show for you, but please stay tuned, because we still got to talk about the fight. But, I don't blame him. I don't blame team Garbrandt out slash Alpha Male slash Faber, however you want to put it. I don't blame them for doing that. They're 0-3. They might even end up being 0-4. They don't know. Obviously, this is before the fight happened, so that was the fight that they wanted to make, and I think when he kind of told Cody, no, he didn't want to do that fight. That's just more of a reason for them to do it. And it was mentioned after on Tough Talk. Dominic Cruz did bring up the whole point that was kind of in my head, that Team Alpha Male never wants to fight each other as teammates. They always made that big deal, but they were quick to, put two ATT teammates together. But then again, it is a competition, so I really don't blame him for it. I'm just bringing up with what he said. He's got the problem with him. Hell if I don't. I don't. I love those guys. They would kill me. But so yeah, Ryan Hall he lost to there. Had that written down. See, we don't need. So we get into one more bonding thing that TJ's team had done in this episode was in the sauna, that nice crazy looking rock sauna that they have in the backyard of the Tough Fighter house. It's always putting up the steam and all that crazy shit. Sorry. So they're, Jez cuts to Jesse Taylor, and he's rhyming, he's doing his poetry, he's talking about cheesecake, he's talking about Cheetos, cheese toes, anything cheese and cheesecake is great. Or I don't know. It was actually fun, and it was kind of fun to watch because all these guys were going around and they all were doing their little poetry or rhymes. Gilbert, did like a rap, and then Joe Stevenson, probably sounded like the way I sound, I guess, because he was like really slow on there and trying to figure out how to rhyme. So I definitely feel for him, man. Like, wow. But like I said, man, it was cool to see that that team is really tight knit, and I think that kind of goes back to the coaching and to the leadership of the team. TJ's really put a lot into it, and this has been being talked about, I think, on a lot of parts all over most of the internet, and it even was talked about by James Krause on Tough Talk after, which is the reason why this is going out a little later. We might get one of these live sometime soon. Like I said, we got some changes coming in, man. I'm just trying to make everything here better. That's why I've been putting out as many videos. But we do have UFC coming up. You're gonna get a preview. You're gonna get a review. We're gonna talk about. I really want to talk about a lot of the things that's going on with Bellator, man, because they got a lot of stuff going on, and I definitely have an opinion and a perspective on that. So we're getting in close to the fight. Of course, both these guys made weight. That's good. Krause did have to he had to cut weight twice at least. One extra time than he probably had to, being that the other guy was just didn't even want to kind of weigh in for himself. But anyway, he was talking about, this is Krause, and he went and got a pedicure and walks in with a suit. The whole pedicure thing, I don't really mind it. If that's 2-on-2, that's all good. But the one thing I couldn't understand is the choice of color that he had for the toenails. Maybe it was something for the ladies in his house or something. I don't know. I just whatever. It was just a little weird to me, the color. But that's just what it is. So the fight starts. They finally get into this fight. Now I knew by how the show was, you could tell by the first few episodes everything's been the same. So if it's gonna be a 2 or even a 3-round fight, when there's gonna obviously be less time in the house, less time showing their stories and whatnot. So because they always leave at least a little bit of a block time to announce the next fight and do that, and maybe show Cody and TJ freaking argue, because they basically start, when they show in the intro like that, they're showing like them arguing from whenever, and everything you hear is like anytime they got next to each other, you know, they were arguing, like batting heads going back and forth, and Dominic Cruz, man, he's funny on Tough Talk. He actually did say, like, I wonder if Faber just decided to say, till you drop the beef with Cody, if everyone would just kind of stop with it. So I wouldn't really be surprised, because it seems to me there's only a couple Team Alpha Male guys that are really taking that to an extra level with TJ. So, hey, it makes for good TV. It doesn't really affect me kind of either way. I do. I like all those. I like watching all these guys fight, man, and most of them are, they seem like pretty decent people, not scumbags, that people like War Machine or whatnot. Before we get into fight, they did have a little bit of a party in the house, like I said, with the drinking. I don't think I really got too much into, that they got Cody Garbrandt pretty much drunk, and he was like, yeah, boy, and they really made a big deal about that. Throughout the show, they did a lot of editing with that. His girl said he was looking douchey. His girlfriend, now fiance. So, good, congratulations to them. Good for them. But everything was kind of mellow until somebody was just like, hey, and just started mixing drinks. And then, like, all the Team Alpha Male was there. So not just, like, Misha Tate and Cody Garbrandt's girlfriend. I mean, there was, like Clay Guida showed up, and, like, that dude's like a nomad. I mean, he used to train in Chicago. He trained in New Mexico. He trained here. He trained in Colorado. Now he's with Team Alpha Male. I didn't even know he's still fighting. I mean, shit. I remember watching. I think I seen him fight in Vegas in like 2009, 2010. I mean, anyway, Clay Guida was there pouring drinks, but the guy that started it all was not Jesse Taylor. It would be your second choice. Night Train Lane. So, I can't wait to see that kid fight. So let's get to the fight. We're a little bit in, and I don't want to go too long, but it was a good fight. It actually started out. Krause came out throwing some hard kicks. They were circling, and it was a pretty fast-paced round. At one point, the round seemed like it was kind of dragging a little, but at some point after some of the hard, a couple hard exchanges, nothing crazy. Nunez tried to throw an overhand right, which he missed with, but for some reason he rushed. Krause rushed in. Like, and it was a weird Russian, like a weird type of exchange. I don't know if he was throwing and then tried to decide to do something. It was weird. But then he kind of fell and they got caught up, and then Nunez got on him and they were fighting. He did the wall walk and backed up off of the cage, and Krause, so once that whole thing when it hit the ground, and it almost looked like he was taken down, but he wasn't. But that was like Nunez's opportunity. He was landing, like some of those shots that they land when you're on the ground or but it didn't seem like too much, damage was going. Krause was much, bigger. He just seemed much bigger. Definitely had the reach. He's a pretty big welterweight, as it is. See, I think he's like 6'1" or 6'1.5". But But then, as it got back to the feet, you would have been like, I'm thinking to myself, all right, well, he was throwing some hard kicks and landing some hard kicks and some hard leg kicks. He's going to definitely want to start that up again. And he started to land some shots. Krause, he's like landing in it. Sometimes these guys that get in there and they just start throwing these lackadaisical kicks like they're freaking in sparring or something. And it's like, man, you're in a fight, like, you got to open up. Like, like you can't just throw something and just kind of leave it out there, because you get in there with some of these killers that are really in the UFC. You do that, and they're gonna just breaking limbs. And Nunez really didn't do that, but he did land some shots. Krause was dropping his his hand, and he was getting nailed with this overhand right. Oh, boom, like a couple times. And then Nunez started gaining confidence, and he was kind of landing some combos, and you're like, holy cow, could we feel an upset, But they're going in, and with about a minute and 10, minute 20 left, after really looked I would definitely be giving Nunez the round, like 2 minutes, like less than 2 minutes in, I'm saying, Nunez was really doing well. You're like, holy man, this kid's gonna win this round. Like what? Wow. But Krause started fighting back, started landing some harder shots again, hit him with a liver shot, really hurt him, and then nailed him with a knee. And then he went down. And as soon as he went down, like you could tell that Nunez really wasn't. He was done, but he wasn't going to tap the strikes, which I'll give him credit for. So I've seen a lot of guys get liver shot, and especially in your liver, and then your knee, and that's even kind of a double whammy. And he's getting pounded on. And you're hoping you're not getting hit in the back of the head. He Krause got in there, sank in those hooks, took his back, softened him up, got the neck, tapped him out, see it, that's it. And Krause wins $15,000 for Mr. James Krause, who definitely should have won that fight, and he did. Per Dana White, that's basically Johnny Nunez's last chance, at least on the Ultimate Fighter. I think for us to see Johnny Nunez in the UFC at this point, he's probably going to have to go on at least a 5, 6, maybe even a 7-fight win streak. Definitely some finishes. He's going to have to be in some, it's tough. But, nothing's impossible. Never say never. He put up a fight. The kid is definitely a scrapper. So he impressed me to a lot. He did a lot better than I thought he may do. But I don't really remember any of his fights on his previous tough appearances. So, but good for him. Another side note: most of these guys, all these guys, if they lose, except for the guy that obviously couldn't even find it even respectful enough to try and weigh in, even though he was going to miss. Oh, I'm going to miss weight. Sorry, coach, I quit. Yeah, you quit, exactly. Or I can't. I don't even know. But screw it. I don't even know why I keep talking about it. So, but it was a good fight, and Nunez, I give him a lot of credit. So after the fight, they move on and they do the whole standoff, and Hassan is going to be fighting. By the way, he got him tapped out with 15 seconds left in that first round, which I'm not like a record guy, but I think if you look into that, that's probably definitely one of the top 3 early type finishes. I'd probably say maybe in tough history. They probably want to look that up. So there's probably somebody out there that could look that up. 15 seconds left. I don't ever remember there being like a 1 second but I haven't seen every fight. They can maybe not count the elimination fights. Who knows? I don't know. I really don't know. I'm not going to claim I know. But I do know what next week's fight's going to be. And we have the 4-0 Team Dillashaw against the 0-4 Team Garbrandt. Cody, Team Alpha Male / Team Garbrandt / Team Uriah Faber / Team Ohio Anyway, these two ATT prospects, I think this is going to be an exciting fight. Hassan was a finalist on his season, season 22 or season 18, I believe. It was the ATT versus Black Zillions. He fought on that. He's a power guy. He said he improved his ground games, his wrestling, his grappling. Let's see if he did. Lima, I know Lima's a pretty well-rounded guy. He's obviously trains at ATT just like them both, but, I've seen him fight. He did also make it to the finals of his episode. He was knocked out by Mr. Eddie Gordon. and didn't do so well in the UFC. Kind of after that, did I get another fight? I believe after that, but did lose. But redemption. It's all about redemption. So we are just about it for tonight. Like I said, I'm trying to keep this short, but I do appreciate you all tuning in. Please hit that like button if you enjoyed the video. Also, leave a comment. Let me know what you thought about tonight's episode of Tough 25. Let me know what you thought about tonight's review. Let me know. Let me know if it's good or bad. I suck or not. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Give it a thumbs up. It turns blue. I don't know if you know that. That is not why I wear blue, and I'm also not wearing blue because I'm, Team Dillashaw won. If Team Garbrandt wins, maybe I will wear red. Maybe that's what I'll do. But we'll see if y'all figure that out. Until then, I am Mark G. This is the 203 Fight Network. Thank you once again for tuning in. Please subscribe to the channel. Don't hit cars and not freaking at least leave a note. And definitely do not miss Friday's episode of The Objective Perspective, which we will also be giving a preview of 211. Don't miss UFC 211 this Saturday from Dallas. Peace.